Indian trade, colonialism, and the global system. Historically, the fine cottons which were produced in India were exported to Europe. With industrialization, the British cotton manufacture began to expand, and industrialists pressurized the governments to restrict cotton imports and protect local industries. Initially, the finest cotton was produced in India, but due to industrialization, the Britishers were able to manufacture big and they want to expand it. So they want to pressurize the government to restrict the cotton which is coming from India and also protect the local industries. Due to these agitations, the tariffs were imposed on cloth imports into Britain. From India, if the cloth is sent to Britain, that is called imports into Britain. It's exported from India, import to Britain. So there they started to import cloth and there are taxes laid on them. Consequently, the inflow of the fine Indian cotton began to decline because you get the quality of the cotton, but it will be at the higher cost. Whereas the local British or Britain manufacturers produced whatever is there, that will be at less cost. And from the early 19th century, British manufacturers also began to seek overseas market for their cloth, excluded from the British. So they want to sell it to the other countries as well. So they want to make a market by tariff barrier. Indian textiles now faced a stiff competition, a strong competition in other international markets. If you look at the figures of exports from India, we see a steady decline of the share of cotton textiles from some 30% in 1800 to 15% by 1815. By 1870s, the percentage has fallen down to 3%. 30% in 1800, 15% in 1815. By 1870, it got completely to 3%. What then did Indian exports? The figures again tell a dramatic story which happened at that time. Exports of the manufacturers declined rapidly. Exports of the raw materials increased equally fast. Now the manufactured products are having tax, but not the raw materials. In 1812 and 1871, the share of cotton export rose from 5% to 35%. 5% to 35%. The raw cotton export has increased. Indigo used for dyeing cloth was another important export from India for many decades. And as you have heard, the last year, opium shipments to China also grew rapidly from 1820s. This all became for a while India's single largest export. Britain grew in opium in India and exported it to China. So they want to earn more money by selling this one. It also financed its tea and other imports from China. So like this, slowly the Indian trade started to grow. Though the finished products, the cotton textiles was declining, the supply of the raw cotton was increasing. So the indigo supplying was increasing. Opium trade has been continued. Over the 19th century, the British manufacturers flooded the Indian market. Food grains and raw materials exports from India to Britain and the rest of the world also increased. So the British manufacturers tried to bring their products into India, but at the same time, in the world and in the Britain, there was demand for food grains and raw materials from India. The value of the British exports to India was much higher than the value of British imports from India. So this is a bit worrying picture. Though they are importing from India, but what they are importing is more to India than from what they are importing from India. Britain had surplus trade with India. Trade surplus means Britain is having more benefit. Britain used the surplus trade to balance its trade deficits with other countries. That is, with the countries from Britain, which was importing more than it was selling to. This is how a multilateral settlement system works. It allows one country's deficit with another country to be settled by its third party, the surplus which is having with the third party. By helping Britain balance its deficit, India played a very crucial role in the late 19th century of the world economy. The imports, what the Britishers are trying to sell in India, are much more than what they are taking from India. The value of the British exports is much higher than what they are sending it from India. This is called trade surplus. Britain used this surplus trade to balance its deficits with other countries. Now, Britain had lot of supply of the raw materials as well as the finished products. So, in order to balance this with the other countries where Britain is importing more than what it is selling, like in India, Britain is selling more and importing less. Similarly, in other countries also, they want to get similar kind of system. This is called multilateral settlement system. Multilateral settlement system, where they take the extra surplus amount from third country and try to balance their particular trade with the other countries. Britain's trade surplus in India also helped pay the so-called home charges, means that included private remittances home by British officials and traders, which means interest payments on India's external debts and pensions of the British officials in India. So they have to pay home charges also as well. That is how the Britishers used to trade with us, and they used our surplus trade to balance their deficiency with the other countries.